Well, hey there. Welcome to another edition of What Barrie's Talking About from Barrie 360. I'm Dan Blakely. On this week's program, the Trump tariff train keeps rolling with new threats against Canada if it strikes a free trade deal with China. We get some insight into how big a threat that is. We go behind the scenes at South Simcoe Police with the chief and deputy chief talking about this year's budget, modernization, and more. Valentine's Day, just around the corner. We have a gift idea that could bring some shock and awe. We get the conversation started after this. U.S. President Trump is threatening 100% tariffs on Canada if Ottawa strikes a free trade deal with China. With Canada-U.S Mexico trade talks on the horizon, we reached out to tariff expert Kyle Peacock for some insight. He's with Barrie 360's Ian MacLennan.
Prime Minister Carney said in his meeting with the First Ministers they're going to focus on what Canada can control. Is that what we're down to now? Is that a fair comment?
That is a fair comment. So that's what we're seeing across the board, and it goes farther than just, I'd say, the Prime Minister. We're seeing a lot of businesses and clients that are similarly acting that way. Obviously, the U.S. is unreliable at this point, and unsure of the uncertainty is driving people to have certain times. So people are striving out on new trade deals, new vendors, new customers, new end users, and it's driving a lot of, I'd say, new routes that were not either used in the past or are re-engaging old routes, similar to Canada to Europe.
Are you finding with your clients that those interactions are working in terms of developing new contacts or, as you said, revisiting?
Very much so. So we've seen it's been a renewed focus of marketing, of pushing the brand, of not incremental growth in the U.S. or North American market. We've seen a significant amount of vendors that just ship to the U.S. that are seeing significant growth because of this opportunity. It's pushed them to be in other markets.
And has that push been part of what the premiers and the Prime Minister have, or are forging or trying to anyway? The realization, as Carney said in Davos, that that old world order it's gone.
Correct. So that's where it's all encompassing. Where a local manufacturer from Ontario may supply into Europe now, but to do that, you have to get it to a port city. So it may be transportation through Quebec, New Brunswick, into Nova Scotia to get on a ship in the port of Halifax to get over into Europe. So there's the interprovincial barriers between transportation, logistics, and just overall movement of goods has came down. So that's where the premiers play into that. And then from the federal level, it's reducing any kind of, I'd say, red tape or obstacles in the way of having that. So the Canadian government has done an extremely good job about setting up trade missions. And we are very lucky in Canada to have the most free trade agreements with the most countries in the world.
I guess, and we heard about that with Ontario and New Brunswick, I believe, the other day when the premiers got together, Ford and the premier of New Brunswick, talking about the port of St. John, where more product is coming through now because trade barriers are coming down.
Exactly. And that's even with, I would say it's a very immature, underdeveloped markets between the St. John's to Ontario. We always took what was easiest. That was shipped to Montreal, out. That's only so few clients operate that way. So that's where these new ports that are really revitalizing themselves, Port of St. John's, Port of Halifax, some of the ports out west, those are really where we're seeing the growth and the investment. So we all know that the Ring of Fire is of interest to Ontario. It makes more sense to continue north with the product and ship out of the port at Churchill in Manitoba or a northern port that doesn't exist yet, instead of bringing it south through the GTA and then over to Quebec/New Brunswick.
The deal with China, obviously not a free trade deal. I don't think in CUSMA it even allows for that. Is that the right move to bring in EVs, or the Ford has kind of backed off a bit. Maybe production will take place in Ontario or elsewhere in Canada. Trump initially thought, oh well, that makes sense what Carney's doing, and then he once again raised the threat of more tariffs. So.
The deal as a whole, the EVs, is what's got the attention, but I think it's what opened up as well. So it hasn't opened up substantially for the Ontario market, but significant amount of products, agricultural products from the West are being purchased now, and they've had their tariffs reduced in China, which is the right way. They did have to, obviously, in any negotiation, you have to give something up. So we did have to give up 49,000 EVs coming into Canada. So I like to refer to this as when the foreign cars first came in the early eras of there was a certain stigma, as well as ensuring if it actually could manage in these areas due to different climates, everything else. So I think it's at that point where they don't want to bring huge amount of investment into Canada if they aren't sure that these cars will be suitable for the Canadian market. And so it's 49,000 cars is very minimal. If you're talking across the region, it's not like it's going to really have any kind of factor. And I think you'll see that it's the long-term play of, okay, if they do well, and that then they would look at bringing manufacturing over here, and that's where a greater deal would be played.
Are we starting to ignore the noise coming from the White House, for lack of a better word, and just forging ahead now?
I think with what we've seen in the world in the last 30, 60, 90 days, that seems to be the precedence. The UK and China just signed a deal. The UK, EU and India signed a massive deal. They're going ahead without the ramifications of what the U.S. will think about these deals, because it's what's best for those businesses.
And Carney's not alone. I mean, he was in China, but right on his heels, were, as you said, were the leaders of Germany, the UK, and Finland on their own separate trips.
It makes you think as a Canadian that you got to give your head a nod, saying that Carney's being the leader that's saying it and being the first to the plate. Obviously, the first one through always kind of feels a little bit of the wrath, and Canadians are, with the threats from the U.S., but it also has to give a little bit of acknowledgement that you were the first one through. It's easy to be second or third, or, after it's already been done, but I think it gives us a certain level of Canadians and Canadian businesses, a certain level of confidence that when you look at it now, we're not the only one. So if we're targeted for tariffs because we have a deal with China, then they can just turn it around and say, well, so does the UK, so does Germany, so does everyone else, so why are we being unfairly punished in that sense? So I think it was a threat to see if it would delay or make anyone think twice about following suit, but we've seen that a lot of leaders have, and I think you'll see it continue.
And I think that taco phrase where Trump blusters and then backs off.
Very much so. I think you're seeing that on the 100% tariffs for Canada, as well as just his most recent threats to South Korea that they aren't passing the trade bill quick enough through their legislative authority.
Just finally, with the Mexico-Canada-U.S. trade agreement up for negotiation, I believe July the 1st, in that time frame, and again, whether Trump's even going to move forward. Who's holding the cards right now? If it were to begin today, if those negotiations were to begin today, and all three players, were serious about at least holding talks?
It's interesting because I think the U.S. would still hold the cards currently, but I think what Canada is doing, it makes them less reliant on CUSMA as we go forward. But obviously, it's the most closest, biggest organization that we're very integrated with. So we should also ensure that is how we go forward for businesses, to ensure that there is seamless trade between the two countries, no matter what the delta is. Companies can deal with added costs It's just the uncertainty that's the biggest blow to them. So if it is new agreement, no agreement, whatever it is, it needs to be done quickly so the businesses can react accordingly.
This is what Barrie's talking about from Barrie 360. I'm Dan Blakely, walking the beat again, this time with the police chief at South Simcoe Police, John Van Dyke, and his second-in-command, Deputy Chief Chris Landry. Welcome back, gentlemen. It's been a while.
It's been a while. Thank you for having us.
Good morning.
But lots to talk about. Of course, we all see the police in action on the streets. We see the vehicles going by, the interaction with the community. But we don't always hear or see about the things going on behind the scenes. There are a few things you guys wanted to talk about: budget, modernization, long-term plans, and a new website. So we'll get to that eventually. But let's talk about the budget first, Chief, because that's always an area of concern for residents, for councils, for the police as well. And it's one of the municipality's biggest expenses, isn't it?
I think it accounts for about 15% of their operating budget, yes.
Yeah. So tell us about the budget at, I think, 11.99% increase this year.
Yes, that's
and
correct.
What's that going to do for the community?
Well, it's going to give us 5 new sworn police officers and 2 additional civilian positions. It's also going to address growing workload demands and ensure that we maintain adequate and effective policing. Our calls for service keep increasing. In 2025, we saw a record number of calls for service. We're out of the gate heavy again in 2026 with calls for service. We are going to surpass our January numbers from last year, which were record numbers. So we are continuing to see our workload increase.
And that goes hand in hand with a growing community, doesn't it? Because we've got more people coming in and staying and moving here, et cetera.
Yes, that is correct.
You mentioned calls for service have jumped rapidly. What kinds of calls? Are there different kinds of calls, or does anything jump out at you in terms of what needs attention?
Well, unfortunately, we're seeing a rise in more serious crimes, sex assaults, robberies. But just, I would just say in general, we're just seeing an increase across the board. Sometimes we see decreases and increases. There's no rhyme or reason. Some years our numbers change, but just the upward trend in our workload demands, both for criminal and non-criminal calls.
And I noticed something in the budget about cell phones, new cell phone issuing for the officers?
Yes, so as part of our modernization strategy, we are issuing every officer with a personal cell phone for business use. And eventually from that, we are going to build out some apps that they can use. We'll be looking at electronic note-taking in the future, which they'll be able to do from their cell phones as opposed to the old notebook. And, adding other apps where it will just give officers more tools to do their job more effectively and serve our communities better.
Could you have ever imagined this when you started policing, this kind of technology being used?
No, I could not.
Dick Tracy kind of stuff, right?
That's correct.
Well, that's modernization, though,
right? That's
modernization, Keeping
yes.
up with the Joneses, as it were. And, Deputy, you've been involved in looking at modernization initiatives and finding new ways to get the job done and more efficiently. So what have you been up to?
Yes, that's right, Dan. Both you and the chief have already touched on that. As we continue to grow, like we say, both as an organization and within our communities, we're consistently seeking ways to implement and improve processes through new and innovative practices. Like I say, be it through technology or process improvement to increase our efficiency, which in turn allows us to better allocate our resources, which ultimately better serves, as the chief has said, better serves our communities. So, yeah, just to touch quickly, Dan, on some of those modernizations that we're looking at. We're modernizing resources and processes for our members. That includes something I'm really excited about is a field guide for our frontline officers. We are a young organization, so this is basically a step-by-step how to handle both common and uncommon occurrences. We're also looking at a resource guide for our new frontline supervisors, our sergeants on the road. We're updating and revising our policies and procedures. And lastly, as you've touched on, our new we have the new website, but to complement that internally within the organization, we have our own internal website for our members, and we call it the Hub. And essentially, again, that's what it is. It's a one-stop shop for all things within our organization for our members. So that's a lot of the modernization issues we're working on right now.
So they can log in and get caught up on what's happening in the North or South Division, depending on where they're working, et cetera, et cetera?
That's exactly it, Dan. And it's a place, and that's something that we've been speaking to our members, something that they've been asking for, a one-stop shop for all things, policy procedures, warrant writing. So we're going to have all of that, all of our units within that hub having their own area that other members can look at for reference.
All right. Community-centered policing has always been, since I've been in this area for the last 16 years, it's something that all the police departments seem to be working on. What direction are you heading there?
Yes, that's. We heard from our community members, our partners, our stakeholders through some of our strategic planning sessions that increased visibility of our officers is truly important, and we understand that. So as a senior leadership team, we sat down, we met, and also kudos to our Staff Sergeant Sean Willen, who is really engaged with this, our community response unit. So what we're looking to do is we're revising our auxiliaries mandate, and we want to pair them up with our crew members and get them out because the community is asking for that presence, that foot patrol. So to complement that, we also did a review of our community response units mandate and their scheduling. So we went from 3 teams down to 2 teams now, and we've changed their schedule. So we're going to see an increased presence with that. And again, thank you to the budget, and we're able to add 1 additional crew member to this team. So we heard you, and we want to respond to your needs, and we fully anticipate you're going to see more foot patrol out there in the summer months and a more visible presence in our communities.
The visibility issue is always a big one because you hear people all the time, where are the police when you need them? It's not that you're not there. You're busy doing something else.
That's very true.
You always have to have time to get to where things are happening as well.
That's very true. And as the chief, and you've touched on the complexity of crimes that are increasing, it does require more resources to be focused on the high-level crimes. Not just a crew member, but a uniform officer to maintain the scene security. So yeah, that's what's happening.
Professional development, always looking for ways for the crew to improve and get better at what they do and move up the ladder, I guess.
Yes, absolutely. And that's from the moment of any of both our civilian and uniform members walk in the front door with South Simcoe. And that's another initiative that we've been looking at, increasing both our uniform and our civilian members' mentorship and leadership development. So we have a strong focus in our training on people-centered leadership. And essentially, that pairs with what I spoke about the last time, and our chief is an incredible ambassador for us for our mental health of all of our members. But the people-centered leadership pairs with that, and it recognizes our members as our most valuable asset. And I'm confident with that, that translates to improved relationships within our communities. And this is being, like I say, implemented across our entire organization, both uniform and civilian, like we say, from the moment a member joins our service.
Community partnerships are very, very important.
Yes,
again, community policing, getting the community involved, and you keep reaching out for that as well.
Yes, absolutely. Being representative of our communities is essential. So we are building a stronger, more diverse service through the recruitment of both culturally and professionally diverse members who reflect the communities exactly that we serve. So, but I think I touched this on the last time we met too. My focus on that is also diversity of life experience and thought. That will contribute, significantly to the connections that we make within our communities. So, strong focus, both the chief and I and all of our members are out there interacting with the community. I've been here just 9 months in my role, but it's been an incredible learning experience for me and the partnerships that I've developed within the service. So continuing to strengthen our relationship with community members and faith leaders and recognizing cultural, religious, and other days of significance. If I could just quickly touch on some of the important things that both the chief and all of our members have been engaged with work faith leaders. We know some of the tragedies across the world that have happened within the Jewish communities, increasing our patrols and police presence during that time and building those communications relationships with our Jewish members and attending their their Hanukkah celebrations, attending Diwali celebrations, Muslim celebrations, and then just before Christmas, the Jamaican hurricane. One of our counselors arranged an event where we raised funds and foods for Jamaican hurricane relief. So, and on this past Saturday, January 31st, I was honored. I joined the Bradford Tamil Association to take part in the 2025 Thai Pongal celebrations in recognition of Tamil Heritage Month. So
it's such a diverse community, isn't it?
Very much
People
so.
from all points of the earth and different backgrounds, and it's important to be able to touch them and get out and let them know you're there for them, too.
Absolutely, and understand what's important to them and be able to relate to them. So, yeah, truly important.
Modernization is one thing. Strategic planning is another. Chief, you've got some initiatives underway in that regard.
Yes, we do, Dan. So we are developing a new strategic plan for the board, and it's important to say that it is the board's plan for the service. Our current plan expired at the end of December, so we are in the process of redoing it for a four-year plan from 2026 to 2029. And the plan is basically the roadmap for the next 4 years.
And what kinds of things are in that roadmap? What are you looking at?
So, as part of the planning process, we did broad consultation in our community, community focus groups with both Bradford and Innisfil Council, the Police Services Board, community groups, external service partners, and internal staff members. And we also conducted a staff survey, a community survey, as well as an environmental scan. So from those consultations and survey responses, we heard directly about the changes they want to see, because the feedback is an integral part of developing a plan moving forward. So we are in the process right now of writing the strategic plan report that will go to the board in February. As part of that, the board will be tasked with adopting a strategic direction. And then from there, we plan to have a draft plan in front of the board in March and have a final plan in front of the board in April for approval. Some of the things that we've been hearing, both internally and externally, is staffing is an issue for us. We have one of the lowest cop per pop ratios in the province. We are serving growing communities and seeing more complex crime and other, different scenarios, increased workload, so staffing. Staff development, modernization, and then from the community, they want to see more visibility and more youth engagement. So I would say those are the themes that I have seen, and those are the things that we'll be writing into our plan for the board's consideration.
Lots of things to consider there, and very, very important things to consider.
Very much so.
Let's talk about the new website.
We're very excited about it, and I'd like to recognize our corporate communications, and Sam have put the lion's share of building this new website for us. So the new website, it's a significant modernization initiative that involved a thorough refresh of our site structure, layout and content, offering easier access for information, improved functionality, enhanced accessibility features. Then that means multiple language options and updated photography throughout. So, and what I'll also say is we did hear from our community members. They wanted more information, exactly what our members are up to. So look for a new feature on the website. We're really excited about it. Every month there will be a report providing an overview of all investigations, traffic, specialty service, what they've been up to over the last month. And it's unlike anything that we've ever done before. So it's an important piece that we're going to be adding to keep our communities informed. So look for that.
The other thing that's really neat is you can see what officers are up to outside of the policing realm, the things that they get involved in within the community. And so it's not just cops and robbers stuff. It's all those other things that are happening as well that sometimes go unnoticed.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. Yeah, absolutely. So look for that.
In the coming weeks, we'll see that up and running?
Yes.
All right.
Yes, you will.
Good. And in the meantime, if people have questions or comments, they can reach out to you anytime?
Absolutely.
All right. What's the protocol for that?
You can dial into our communications center and ask to speak to either the chief CEA, or you can, if it has something to do with our website or corporate communications, you can email our corporate communications consultant,
All right.
Sam Othman.
Gentlemen, thanks for dropping by. Good to see you again. We'll look forward to the new website, the new strategic plan, all the modernizations, and having you back again really soon.
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you, Dan.
To reach South Simcoe Police staff regarding a non-emergency matter, dial 705-436-2141 or 905-775-3311. To reach corporate communications, ask for extension 2006. Valentine's Day approaching fast. What you got planned? If you're looking for something different, something unique, our Ian MacLennan was, and he got an earful, literally, from the Barrie County Chordsmen Barbershop Quartet, led by Brian Tracy.
Tell us the event you're promoting for Valentine's Day.
Yeah, so it's a thing called Singing Valentines. It's something that barbershoppers all over the world do for Valentine's Day. And for us, it's a major fundraiser that we use for Harmonize for Speech, which is a local Ontario group that supports speech pathology and stuttering and that type of thing. It's really important to us.
You're regional, so you're Barrie and the surrounding area, people can pay money to do this? And
Yep. We're offering through Simcoe County, so we'll go up to Orillia, Wasaga Beach, down to Alliston, mostly through Barrie, but yeah, we do have all of Simcoe County available.
Is it mostly guys jumping on board this for their wife?
We do majorly sing for ladies, but actually some of the most memorable ones have been singing for guys in the middle of a factory. The more embarrassing, the better.
So there's a surprise component, or maybe even for some, an awkward component.
Yes, absolutely. We've sang for 6-year-olds in a kindergarten class. We've sang for people in palliative care in the hospital. It doesn't matter. We'll go to your home, to your work, meet you at a restaurant. Just have to make the right arrangements for it.
What kind of reaction do you get, especially with those surprises?
Again, that will vary as well. But it always goes off really, really well. A lot of times the person is embarrassed, but if you go into a workplace, for instance, like everybody will come and watch it happen because it is really exciting. And it's going to be memorable. Whether they're embarrassed or not, it's going to be something they remember for a long time.
And maybe a bit of an honor, too, the fact that, that they've reached out like that and want to celebrate the big day.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, there's nothing worse than not doing something on Valentine's Day for the person that you love. Like, it's just expected. You don't have to take them out for dinner. Doing something like this really means that, you've went that extra mile and looked for something that was unique, and that's our thing. It's a very unique experience.
What makes this type of music so compelling to people? Because it would cross all genres.
There really has been a big surge in a cappella singing in the last couple decades, but barbershop just seems to just be perennial. Like it started 100 years ago. With guys singing on a corner, and it just keeps going because the actual 4-part harmony is really amazing, especially to the singers. we often say we sing more for ourselves than for the people, but you just have to be in it to understand how emotional it makes you.
How did you get involved, just on a personal note?
So actually, I was always a singer through school, and when I left high school and then university, I really had nowhere to go sing. Like I went from always singing to no singing. So one of my customers where I worked came to me one day and went, "Hey, you should come out and sing with the Barrie County Chordsmen." And I had no idea what he was talking about. And I went, and I loved it. But that was when I was in my 20s, and I just had so much else going on. I didn't stick with it. But once I got into my 40s, it was something that really drew me in. I just had to sing. I love to sing. Everybody should have music in their life. So
exactly. And how many members do you have?
Active right now, we have about 20 singers that come out regularly. We have 30 members, but some are in states for winter time and whatnot, but about 20 that come out.
Okay, so I know people who think they're great singers and they sound like a hinge, and others that are really kind of self-conscious, but they've got a wonderful voice. I'm just wondering what sort of training goes into that, and how do you get to where you are?
All levels of skill are welcome to come and sing. Like we have some singers that are very elderly and they're not soloists, but as part of the ensemble, right, it's really something that anybody can come out and sing, right? You're not relying on any one specific voice. So whether you think you're just a shower singer or you think you're a soloist, there's a spot for you in an ensemble. So
that's always how it's going to be the old music down by the old mill stream. And I went onto your website. You go from there to Billy Joel, and so how do you pick and choose that music?
What's really funny is we get into stuff like Beatles and go, yeah, we're singing current songs, and then we think, oh, wait a minute, that's 50 years old. But we have a team that looks at different music. The Barbershop Society, which has tens of thousands of members, they do a lot towards finding new music, getting it arranged. There's a lot of new young arrangers that are doing some great stuff with songs that are newer from the 80s and the 90s.
Give me an example.
Well, actually, I went to one of the conventions that's geared towards youth about 2 years ago. That there was about 500 high school students that came, and they did a mass sing of the song "Creep."
There you go. Wow.
Yeah. So it does appeal to everybody. Not everyone wants to come out and sing down by the old mill stream.
No.
But, we do try to liven it up.
How do you tinker with can't tinker with the lyrics, but how do you make something from the Beatles or even Creep become what you want it to be? Yeah,
there's people that do it. I'm not an arranger. But another group that I sing with, we just did Kiss on My List from the Hall & Oates. And we hired this young arranger to create the arrangement for us in the barbershop style. Like there is specific harmonies that make it barbershop versus just regular old a cappella. And these arrangers are amazing. And
how many barbershops have you performed in?
Actually, several. Yes, we've done when there's promenade days downtown Barrie. We'll go down and sing in all the shops, and we do like the one barbershop here. He's got a downstairs, so we sing at the stair. It's a lot of fun.
Well, we're going to get you together. I'm not going to tell you what to sing. You've already got something in mind, I'm sure. And we'll gather around the mic here.
So we'll preview one of our Valentine songs.
Well, this one here, right? Let me call you sweetheart, I'm in love with you. Let me hear you whisper that you love me too. Keep the love light glowing in your eyes so true. Let me call you sweetheart, I'm in love with you.
Thanks to Brian, Jim, Darren, and Brent for the serenade. They can be reached at 705-795-0844 or through their website, barriecountycordsman.com. And that's our program for this week. Thanks to Ian and Julius for their input, to Logan Miller for pulling it all together, and to you for listening. If you like what you've heard, please subscribe to What Barrie's Talking About. You can also keep up with What Barrie's Talking About on Blue Sky and X at Barrie360, on our website, Barrie360.com, and there's our daily Kickstart podcasts available from any streaming service and on our website. I'm Dan Blakely. Hope you'll join us again next week.